Hey there. I was asked, I posted this set of pipes for sale on the various Facebook and other groups, and one fellow got back to me and asked for a sound sample, so here we are. For starters, again, uh, four drones uh, made by David Boisvert, along with his chanter made by him, bellows made by him, and regulators in Blackwood with ebony mounts made by Tim Britton. The reason why I'm selling these things is it occurred to me somewhere along the line I ceased becoming a musician or being a musician. I still listen to music, but I haven't had these things out of the box in 4 years. And it used to be I couldn't leave them out on the table because I couldn't walk past them without picking up and playing them. So I'd initially bought them. I found them on eBay. And I was immediately struck by their beauty because the turning is astounding. The workmanship is beyond exquisite. All of these ferrules are hand formed out of sheet, and they're all tapered in the way that we originally saw with, I think, the Northumbrian pipe makers in the late 1700s. Gorgeous. It's African blackwood, holly, I believe. Again, brass mounts. They're very airtight. But I saw these things on YouTube. I saw the images, and I immediately fell in love with them because they're art. And some pipers will say a pretty instrument doesn't make you a better piper. I disagree, because a beautiful instrument inspires you to play. I literally could not walk past these things without wanting to pick them up and play them. And in fact, if I was a certain sort of rich person, I'd keep them just as art. But when I see a set of instruments, an instrument or a set of pipes that's in a collection that's not being played, that eats at me because they deserve to be heard, right? So starting off with the bellows, I've got a bellows pipe. That's the ones that are offered for sale by Uilleann in Dublin. Wonderful things. You can see they blow. They could keep a forge going. They could keep a set of Highland pipes going. And as you can see, they are as airtight as anything. I could count. I did a test here just before we put the camera on, and I counted to 30 with like no loss. So now I've tied, because when I bought these things, well, initially I'd bid on them. I didn't win the bid. A little while later, they were rebid because the first person didn't pay up, and I thought the universe was saying, right, you need to buy these pipes. So I did. And then a friend of mine, who happened to be also a friend with David Boisvert, Mr. Boisvert, said, hey, look, I know Dave, let me give him a call. I bought these from somebody in Minnesota. He says he lives in Minnesota. He doesn't live too far away. Maybe we can get him to fettle them up. And he very kindly agreed to do so. He gave them a going over, and sort of restored them to playing condition, because an instrument, particularly a bagpipe, the instrument itself gets out of practice if it's not played, right? And on top of everything else, originally this pipe had come with a brass chanter headstock. He turned a wooden headstock for me. And as you can see, we have provisions for a shutoff valve right there. The chanter has one key, but provisions, mounting blocks for 2 more keys. And if you can see this back detail here, how that is sculpted, and I'm going to have to show this upside down, but it's absolutely perfect thumb rest. They're wonderfully comfortable to play. I love a thick wooden chanter coming from Highland piping experience with increasingly narrow plastic chanters. A broad wooden chanter that's sculpted to the hand is an absolute delight. So as far as and then when it came, so he shipped to me, he offered to tie them into a bag for me, but I declined because tying a set of pipes into a bag is a very, very personal, bespoke, really tailoring experience, because if the relationship is wrong between the drones and the blowpipe and the chanter, it's not comfortable, and you have to do it over again. So I asked him just to send the sticks and stocks as they were. I had a spare pipe bag, and I'd watched an interview with Paddy Keenan in which he showed how his pipes were tied in, because usually this is reversed. Normally the drone stock is tied in up here and the blowpipe is down here. But having watched the interview, heard his explanation and his reasons for doing it, I followed suit. So I tied them in this way. And frankly, because of the very small bore at the end of the drone, you could actually switch these back and forth without going to a new bag. It's a bit messy because some people can be neat and clean with cobbler's rubber cement. I, however, cannot. It's looking a bit Peter North. But his stated reason, which I find worked absolutely for me, is it puts the drones at a better angle. When they're hanging up high, they're kind of dragging everything down. And I've seen quite a few pipers, including pictures of Seamus Ennis, who had basically a shoelace, a bootlace, around the drone, or either over the shoulder, around the neck, to support the weight of the instrument. But with this, it's simply not required. The drones lie in an absolute perfect position, rock steady. They're not sliding forward. They're not dragging the pipe down, and they put the regulators in about the optimum position for playing. So good for them. So first off, I'm going to let you hear the drones. Now again, we've got an alto, a baritone, and a bass, and those are each an octave apart. That's at the tonic of the chanter, D, an octave below that. But we also have a tenor drone. And this one's set in a fifth interval, so it's A, E. I never actually can remember the names of the notes. I'm that sort of piper. But as you can see, it has a plunger shut off on the end, rather like a Northumbrian pipe setup. Now, you can't, or at least I can't, turn it on and off mid-performance. I was never really a performing Uilleann piper. I was a performing Highland piper for many years. So I at least can't turn that on and off rapidly. So we're going to start off with just hearing the tenor and the bass together, and I'll bring the other two drones in. As you can see, the drones, all of the reeds are composite. They're brass body, plastic tongue, polystyrene tongue. I'd have to take a look inside. One or two of them might have a cane tongue, but as you can see, I made. They tend to want to stay shut. They won't shut off when I close the end of the drone. So I whittled plugs out of chopsticks. Yeah, really elegant, and a bit of string. But if it's ugly and it works, it's not stupid, right? So here we are. So we'll start off with the bass and the tenor. I'll bring in the baritone. And the alto. Now this is the first time I've strapped on a set of bellows in like 4 years. That's me apologizing for the poor bellows and drone technique you hear. But you can see they're not air hungry. I'm not wailing away like mad, like a fiddler with his elbow going up and down. They're quite economical for air. Now where the rot kind of sets in, and you can see my lack of practice, is I never really came to terms with the regulators. I was operating, in seclusion without access to any instructors, and frankly money to pay for any instructors. So I never really got anywhere with the regulators, and they're not going to sound. They're going to be a bit out of tune because as you can see, I'm really overblowing to get that. Much of as anything is because from being a reckless Highland piper who's always mistreating his reeds, I'm as afraid as anything of breaking or damaging these reeds, because you can't just go down to the local piping supply store and buy a new set, right? So I'm confident with the drones. But somebody who knows what they're doing should be able to get those regulators into piping order quite quickly. Now, as to the chanter, again, I just pulled it out of the box and played it for a minute or so before I put it on. But again, pardon me for this because I haven't even picked these things up in 4 years. But as you can see, as far as the span of the fingers, this set's in D. I just had my electronic tuner on them, and they're bang on D. But as you can see, I'm not Seamus Ennis. If you look at that famous picture of him holding his chanter, he looks like a creature out of H.P. Lovecraft, because I swear there's an extra joint on every one of his fingers. They're preternaturally long. It's like selective breeding for pipers, right? I'm quite the opposite. My palm, I have more of a flipper than a hand. My palm is longer than my fingers. Stubby little wee hands. But as you can see, I can make the span with my fingers without too much difficulty. Can't quite manage the second octave, but that's me. That's definitely not the instrument. Yeah, that's as far as I'm going to take that. But as you can see, the instrument is in as new condition. I had a great amount of enjoyment out of it, but again, that was 4 or 5 years ago, and I'd like to pass these on to someone who's actually going to appreciate them as much as me, but more fully than me, if you get the thing, right? So thanks very much. If there's any more questions, I'll answer those as well. Cheers, bye.